Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything. Channel likes try anything, so you don't have to. In today's video, it's going to be a little different to the normal Casio watches that I've been featuring on the channel. And the reason being is that I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a bit of an idiot really sometimes when I buy watches from eBay and stuff like that. And why, you ask? Well, it's simple. I picked this watch up from eBay thinking that it was a men's watch and one for the collection, and in reality it is a ladies' digital watch. But saying that, I thought I'd turn it into a bit of a positive and feature it in a video. As even though I'm not the intended person for this Casio, I thought that if you are a lady who is looking for an affordable sports watch and isn't really into the whole smartwatch thing, then this review may be for you. So in this review, I will be looking around the mistakenly purchased Casio LW-S200H, highlighting some of the materials used on this watch, the design of it, and mentioning some of the sizes along the way. We will then go through some of the functions that this has to offer, and I've got to admit there's quite a few. We're going to pop it on our wrist and say what it's like to wear. There will be links to the instructions of this watch in the description box below, and there will also be a tutorial video for this watch coming very soon, so don't forget to click on the subscription button if you haven't already done so. If you were to purchase this Casio LW-S200H brand new, then it is available in 4 other colours to choose from, which I'm showing you here. So if this watch I am featuring in this video isn't for you, then there may be a version you prefer, and hopefully a version that you can find that you will prefer to wear. So with that out of the way, let's take a closer look at the Casio LW-S200H. Now first of all, let's take a look at the sizing of this watch. The width of the case is approximately 39mm from left to right, and if you want to include the 2 metal pushers, you are looking at an approximation of 49mm from the pusher on the left to the pushers on the right. Lug to lug, or to the top of the case to the bottom, you are looking at about 46mm, and depth wise you are looking at about 14mm. So it's not really a large watch, but obviously this watch, it is a ladies' watch. Materials are business as usual from an affordable Casio of this type, with it being a light grey plastic resin for the case, and as I've mentioned earlier, you do have 2 metal pushers to the left and 2 metal pushers to the right. Inner lug width, you are looking at 16mm, that's from the inside left to the inside right. And while we're at it, the straps are the usual resin affair, but they are light grey in colour to match the case, and I have to say that the quality is good and it doesn't feel flimsy in any way. It is also smooth on the outer and has an interesting textured design to the inside, which I haven't seen on many, if any, Casios that I've featured on the channel, and I do feel it adds to that very sporting aesthetic that this watch is aimed for. And as you can see here, it does pick up the embellishment here, and I would imagine that is mainly down to the actual colouring of this strap, but it is a very nice, as I've said, smooth strap on the outer, textured on the inner, and I've got to say it does add to the overall sporty nature of this watch. Now moving on to the back, you have the usual stainless steel case back fixed to the watch with 4 screws allowing you ease of access to the inner module, which in this case is 3197. As you can see mentioned on the back, as well as the module number and the model number, you do have mentioning that obviously it is a stainless steel case back. It is water resistant to 5 bar, or what would be 50 meters, and also what you do have is these nice engravings to the top left, top right, bottom right, which just give you an indication of what each of the pushers do allow this watch to do. Now, pairing the accurate plus or minus 30-second per month quartz module is a tough solar setup, as you can see emblazoned on the top here. So it's ideal to keep this watch in what would be sunlight just to charge the battery. And as you can see on the left hand side, currently the battery is on high, but if you do leave this watch in what would be a drawer or anything for an extended period of time, what you'll notice is that it does go into power saving mode, and I believe it is in that at the minute, which is indicated by the PS, and the whole display goes blank. Now that allows the module to obviously save as much power as it can, and as soon as you pull the watch out, say of a drawer or anything like that, and it does detect any form of light or sunlight via the I'm guessing via the solar panel, which I'm thinking is on the outside of this watch, as you can see here, the actual digital display does come back to life. Now, moving on to the front of the watch, the dialed window is a dome spherical acrylic glass, which is prone to scratching, but I have to say that in this example, there doesn't seem to be any marks. So sometimes you can get away with it, but just be aware that it does happen. And there's plenty of watches that I have featured on this channel that do illustrate that fact. And I do have, again, my trusty little F105 here, which you can see here the scratching that you can get on some of these watches. But as I say, adds to the character, and it is a daily watch that I do wear. So just be aware that this watch will pick them up. Now, the front of the case matches the aesthetic of the watch very well. It looks sporty while not being overly so, and the pink part of the bezel, the kind of hot pink part of the bezel, does match what is the decals, and obviously that very hot pink pin and buckle. Now, moving on to the digital display, and when looking at it through the timekeeping mode, which is what this is currently at, where it features the main local time that you have set for this watch, I have to say that it is very clear, easy to understand, and you can easily glean the time from at a quick glance. Now, the only thing I will say with the digital display is that it is prone to some form of ghosting if you do look at it at an acute angle, but obviously straight on it is super easy to read. The typefaces used for this watch for the day, the time, the date are very easy to read, and the layout of this watch keeps the main time front and center with the day of the week at the top and the date situated at the bottom underneath that pink coloured line. And to the left and right of the day of the week, you do have on the left, you do have the stages in which the battery is charged. So at the minute it is high, but it will go medium and low, and then you do get an indicator to charge this watch. Put it in a windowsill with sunlight will help charge this watch. On the right hand side you have two boxes here which have I've just currently highlighted them here, which is the hourly signal and the alarm, which I'll talk about later on in this video. And you do also have a whole host of letters appear on this watch. So for example, daylight saving time, power saving mode, etc. So it is, while it can be not so much a busy display, but it is a watch that can feature a lot. But I do have to say, in this instance, and obviously at a distance, it is a watch that you can easily glean the information from, because I will say it is very well laid out. Now, illuminating the digital display during darkness or semi-darkness, you have a single orange LED light that is situated to the left of the case. Now, I've moved it over to the left because I'm just showing you just a little clip of how it looks in darkness and semi-darkness. Now, obviously, when I press the light button at the top right-hand corner, you can see the single LED to the left, and it does light up this watch very well. I've got to say, I do think it does allow you to read the time in darkness and semi-darkness really. But the other thing that this watch also sports is that when you do press the light button, you don't have to keep your finger on it. It does have an illumination for 1.5 seconds, but you can change that to 3 seconds as well when you go through the adjust parameter by just going through the adjustments on the timekeeping mode. You can change it from 1.5 seconds to 3, but yet it is a really good backlit display. So again, it's a very handy feature to have on this watch. Now, as well as the light, this watch also features a handy 12 and 24-hour format function, as well as a full automatic calendar, which once set by the wearer will take into account leap years, which also goes up to 2099. As well as that, it also features what I've mentioned earlier, daylight saving time. This watch also features a pusher button tone mute feature, which can make the watch silent when operating its functions, and doesn't affect the preset alarms and countdown timer when that mute is active. So as we're talking a little bit more about the watch's features, let's mention what else this Casio LW-S200H is also capable of, and it is capable of a lot. Now, the first thing to talk about with some of the features of this watch is that this watch has a very nice fully featured stopwatch. Now, I'll just clear that off. Now, what you'll notice, obviously, as you change over to the stopwatch mode, it says STW, but then you are presented with an F and a number, really, and the Running Man graphic. Now, just to explain, what this watch has built into it is a lap memory of 120 data point entries, and what that means is that you can record things like lap times, split times, elapsed times, etc. like that. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth with that because I will be producing a tutorial video for this watch very soon, but that's just to say that this means that I've got 6 data entries within this watch, and there's 114 data points left to record on this watch. Now it's easy. When I start the stopwatch, you can see it says 001, so that's obviously the first 8-point entry. Now what you do have is that you can, it is recording a elapsed time which you can stop and then reset, which is easily done. But what you can also do is do what would be lap times, split times, and every time you do that, as you can see, the amount of records do go up. But that running man just shows you that the stopwatch is still measuring a form of time, whether it be a lap time, split time, or an elapsed time. So there is quite a feature rich element to this stopwatch. So if I start and stop it and then reset it, what you'll notice is once the time's been zeroed off, it will go back to featuring the local time at the bottom. And also you can change what is the dominant element that's been featured on this watch. So for example, the lap time's been featured. If I just press the adjust here, it will change to split with the lap time being featured underneath. If I press it again, it'll go back to lap. So you can have lap times and split times measured on this watch, as well as an elapsed time. And it also has a measuring capacity that goes up to 100 hours, and yes, 100 hours, that is absolutely mental on this watch. Now obviously married with that stopwatch, you do get that recall feature, which allows you to go into certain records and have a look at how you've done on a certain date, which can be easily accessed. As you can see, you've got the date there, you've got the records and the time in which I recorded the data point entries that I've just quickly done on this stopwatch. And again, just go into it and then you can just cycle through them, go into it again and just see what your best time is and stuff like that. And it is quite a handy feature to have, especially if you are into recording lap times, split times, elapsed times, to see how you do over a period of time. But it's easy to clear and easy to reset, so it is quite user friendly in this aspect. Now, as well as the impressive recall feature and obviously the stopwatch, this watch also features a countdown timer alarm mode. Now, this watch is ideal for people who are into interval training, as this watch can be set up to take advantage of, not only does it have one timer, but it has dual timers. So in essence, you can set up one timer for the main training, and then you can set it up for what would be a recovery period in what would be timer 2. Now what I've done here, I've set it up so you can, just to give you an idea how these dual timers do work. So I've set it for 10 seconds, but it will go up to 99 minutes, which is, again, it is quite crazy really for this watch. So I'll just quickly start it, and what you'll see here is obviously this is the first out of 3 repetitions that this watch will do. So it'll go down to 0 seconds and then you'll hear a beep. And then that's the second timer. And then what you'll then hear is a beep to go back to the first timer. So again, back to the first timer, and then what you can see, it is now on the second of the 3rd repetition. So if you are doing high intensity training, then again this watch will be ideal for that. So you can obviously set up the amount of repetitions, the time in which you do the high intensity, the time in which you do the recovery. And I do think that this watch would be ideal for people who are into high intensity training or anything, or any form of training that has intervals built into it. And again, you can see the one there that refers to the first interval training or the first timer, and then obviously the 2 refers to what would be the second timer. So let's just see what happens when it gets to the last time piece. And that's it. It beeps away just to say that that is the end of what you require for your timer. And I've got to say, it is a great little function for people who are into that form of fitness. Now this, as well as what I've just mentioned here, this watch also features a very handy world time or dual time function. And what dual time allows you to do is to actually see another time that is separate to what would be the local time that you have set on this watch. Now this watch will allow you to go through 31 different time zones, which includes what would be 48 different cities, including what would be a universal time as well, which is kind of like the successor to Greenwich Mean Time, otherwise known as GMT. So as you can see, I'm just going through what would be different cities in the world. So Adelaide, Sydney, Papua New Guinea, I'm guessing, Anchorage, stuff like that really, and obviously LAX standing for Los Angeles. And yeah, if you are communicating or visiting other parts of the world, you can set the time zone or the city you are looking to visit, and you will get an idea of the time within that area of the world. So it is an added little feature for the lady who likes to travel the world or deal with what would be business associates or communicate with loved ones in different parts of the world, and it is a great little feature for this watch. So as well as a handy dual time feature that this watch has built in, this watch also features 5 daily alarms, which I can show you just quickly cycling through here. So that would be 4 alarms with a snooze alarm, which make up the 5 daily alarms. And also you do have an A-list signal, which will beep on the hour every hour, just knowing when, give you an idea when the time elapses. And I'm going to say, for a watch, I would imagine that it's probably at the price point about 40 pound. It is a great little feature to have. Now I've mentioned most of the functions of this watch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this watch on my wrist and say what it's like to wear. Now I'm going to be honest and say that I must admit that I am not the intended wearer that this watch is aimed at. But as I am featuring it on the channel, then here it is on my wrist. My wife has given this watch a try, and while she didn't want her wrist featured on the channel, and I've got to be honest, I don't know why, she did say that it was comfortable to wear and didn't inhibit any movement, and I've got to agree with that this watch doesn't, and it shouldn't really, because obviously the case isn't that big at all. Personally, I do like how the watch looks. I know it sounds strange, but I do like the combination of that hot pink with a pastely light grey colour into the case. I do think it does complement each other very well. The display is easy to read at a glance, and while it does suffer from a little bit of ghosting if you do view this watch at an angle, I've got to say, I think the watch works well overall for being able to read the information off the dial and for it just sitting on your wrist really well. So my final thoughts on this watch, even though this isn't a watch my wife would really wear, as she is more into the dressier types of watches and watches that do have that added bit of sparkle. And I have to admit, obviously, that this watch isn't for me to wear. I do have to say that if you are a lady who's into sports and fitness and is looking for that type of watch, then I've got to say, I don't think you can go wrong with the Casio LW-S200H. You get a feature-rich stopwatch, a countdown timer with dual timers, world time, plus then 5 independent alarms with the A-list signal to boot, all in a very, what I would say is a very nice package. It's also solar powered, so until the battery fails in its ability to recharge and hold a charge, which will hopefully be for some time yet, then this watch for some ladies who like to exercise should be a no-brainer. It's comfortable to wear on the wrist, and its pastel colouring in this example should appeal to a lot of females who are looking for a watch like this. Overall, it's a great watch to add to your collection, and while I have been mentioning that it is mainly female focused, there is nothing to say that it might appeal to some males out there, and if it does, then it is a great watch for you also. So I hope you liked the review of the Casio LW-S200H, and if you did, then please click on the like button, always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, then click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.